Good morning. I want to welcome you to the Center for Early Childhood Education at Eastern Connecticut State University. My name is Julia Delap, and I'm the director here at the center, and we are here today to announce the results of the 2016 TIMPANI Toy Study. This is an annual study that we conduct to investigate how children learn from and play with different kinds of toys. And it's one of many research studies that we have conducted through our center by faculty and students. And we do this kind of research to help further our mission to enhance the quality of early care and education. One of the ways that we share what we learn from these studies and what we have learned about how children learn and what teaching practices are effective is through video. And it's really one of the things that sets our center apart from other research centers across the country. So just like other early childhood centers, we conduct original studies. We publish those results in scholarly journals. We also create documents that are aimed at teachers that talk about the implications of that practice for their own teaching in their classrooms. So that's something that we do just like every other center. But what makes us unique is that we take it a step further and create something that turns that research into something very meaningful for those who are working in the field and for our future teachers, our younger generation. So we create videos that demonstrate to them that the things that we're talking about and the things that we've learned in our research can actually be done in classrooms, so they can see examples of real teachers doing these things in their classrooms. We get this video not only from our partner center next door, the Child and Family Development Resource Center, but from a variety of settings across Connecticut. So we have gotten video from over 20 different settings in the state, from other preschools and family child care providers. So we know that these things can be done in different kinds of settings and with different demographics of children and teachers. And that's something that we felt was really important to discover. So to date, we have made over 100 educational videos. They're available for free on our website for people to use in their professional development and to get ideas in their own teaching. And we know that these videos are being used all over the country, and in fact, we can see from the data that they're being used in countries all over the world. Our YouTube channel in September reached 500,000 views of our videos, and it was a big milestone for us. And we continue to get requests from faculty all over the country to make our videos required viewing as part of their courses, and from state departments of ed wanting to link to those videos. So today we're going to show you an excerpt of this year's TIMPANI video. So you'll get to see some highlights of this year's study. You'll get to see children playing with different kinds of toys and see what they do. So you'll get to get an experience of what our student researchers viewed when they did the study. And those students are also part of what makes this center unique. We are deeply committed to engaging students, and particularly undergraduate students, in our research. So we had 2 students who were involved in this year's study, and we've got 5 students who are already underway with next year's study, and Jeff will introduce them in a few minutes. We also engage communication students in the making of our videos. And these kinds of experiential learning opportunities are part of what makes a liberal arts education at Eastern unique. Students leave with practical experience that's meaningful to them. It makes them more competitive for jobs, and it ensures that our graduates are well prepared for their future careers. And really, we couldn't do the research without them. We also couldn't do our work without the ongoing support of our senior administrators. We're very much indebted to the entire leadership team for their promotion of our work and for ensuring that we have the resources we need to carry out this work. And we're especially grateful to our president because she's such a champion of everything we do, and the original idea behind this study actually came from her. So I would like to introduce her now and have her come up and give a few remarks. So if you will join me in welcoming President Elsa Nunez.
Julia gave such a wonderful introduction, and this idea of applied research is really important. You can do basic research in a lab, and you can do, research that stays just in publications. But when you actually do applied research and you transport the knowledge onto a video. And there's so many people that are visual learners. You know, they may read the article, they may get it, but when they actually see it and play, it's a totally different thing. So that does distinguish the center, and I'm very, very proud that they've moved from just learning about how children learn through play to actually using that research to convey these important ideas and findings to the public. This is a tradition at Eastern now, the TIMPANI study, and I couldn't believe it's 8 years. We're very proud of this study, and we're very proud of the day that we announced the winning toy. And this year's results are interesting as usual, but of course I can't tell you which toy won. Jeff will do that in a minute. This study has garnered international attention across the world. And last year, Turkey actually emailed us and emailed the faculty and had many questions to ask about the toy and the research study, and they want to replicate it. So it's really interesting that internationally the research has caught on. That's wonderful news, but international acclaim is not why we conduct study of preschool toys. We do it to help guide school teachers, parents, and others in selecting toys for their own children that promote intellectual growth, social interaction, and creativity. At Eastern, you know that we have the tagline that says Eastern is Connecticut's only public liberal arts college practically applied, and the tagline is practically applied. So students have opportunities to do internships, co-ops, which are paid internships in a way. Internships, of course, are for credit, and co-ops are for pay. And then they do community service, or they can do it through service learning courses that faculty teach, in which there's a community service component, or they can do undergraduate research. This is the key to doing the study. It's not just about the study itself, the videos, or even the research that the faculty does. It is an opportunity for our students to actually do serious undergraduate research with a senior faculty member. So we've been able to, under the tutelage of the early childhood faculty, in particular Professor Jeffrey Trawick-Smith, who holds an endowed chair in early childhood education, and there are not many in the country, there's only 2. I cannot think of a better mentor for my students to conduct the TIMPANI Toy Study. Jeff has an international reputation for his research and writing in the area of children's play and its impact on early childhood development. He loves children. He is passionate about the nuances of playtime, and his excitement and expertise rubs off on his students. He takes play very seriously. He knows the importance of play in every child's life. In addition, I want to congratulate our student researchers with whom he works. Lee, are you here, Leah? There she is. Leah, congratulations. Slainowski and Rachel Borden. Is Rachel here? Okay, she couldn't come. Andrew Rubosh, who edited the video documenting the TIMPANI evaluation process, was also a very important component of the research study. All 3 students are to be commended for their painstaking data collection and analysis, as well as their commitment to young children. They're going to get into graduate school very easily based on the work that they did in this study. I also want to thank and congratulate Julia, who you heard from earlier, because Julia is the person, the mover and shaker, as we say, behind the scenes. She sets up the opportunities for students to optimize the research setting. With professionals like Jeff and Julia, we have been able to share the knowledge they and our students gain with early childhood professionals throughout the region. Before I pass the podium on to Dr. Trawick-Smith to announce the winning toy, I want to encourage the news media to stay around and look at the children playing with the toys, because I think that's so exciting to do that. And you'll be able to do that before they have lunch and take their naps. I want to thank all of you for coming this morning to be part of this important announcement. And again, I want to thank Julia and Jeff and the students for making this all possible. Congratulations for the 8th time.
Thanks, President Nunez. I always get a larger head after these events because you say such kind things about us and our work. I do think, and Julia kind of commented on this, that it's important to note that it's your vision that explains a lot of this. Certainly the Timpani Toy Study would not have existed if you hadn't, 8 years ago now, come up with an idea for using science to really explore the benefits of children's toys. And I also want to mention that when you first arrived on campus, you began almost immediately talking about the importance of undergrad student research within a liberal arts college. And that, too, inspired us to, include all of you, our students, in the work that we're doing. So I just owe you a lot. And also, you've just been a very good colleague and friend, so I want to thank you. I want to sort of point out a few other people, if I could, and I'll do this kind of quickly, because I know you want to get on to the toy for this year. But I wondered if, first let me introduce, first let me comment on Julia. You've already done this, but I just have to say, one thing I did want to point out is that Julia is now, we've decided, because she's really been doing this for years, a co-investigator. And, she really has all along been so involved in, the scholarship of this, including presenting at conferences, writing papers, writing grants. And so I do, think it is important to elevate her, although I sort of feel like you've been kind of playing that role all along. So, and again, thanks for all your work and your support. Sorry, I wanted to introduce Heather Bassett. I just, you don't have, who is now I just want to, I think Heather's a good example of the power of undergraduate student research 8 years ago, I guess. Heather was a student in my play course, which everyone is here, all the students here have taken, and I spotted her almost immediately as an outstanding student. She and I developed an instrument, and it's the one that is requested around the world. So Heather was here at the beginning and helped to develop that instrument, and we wrote a very scholarly paper on it. Heather now is a faculty member here and is in a doctoral program at UConn. So you see how she's kind of, and now she's so much older. That's a joke. That's a little joke. As I get older, I like making that joke. But anyway, could I ask, are there staff here, I think, or a couple of staff members would you just stand up if you're of work in the Children's Center? Is Nilafar here? And then Claudia. Oh, okay. So anyway, I just wanted to say I want to thank you again for letting us, for the 8th year, do all of this in your classroom. This year's been particularly challenging because we're doing 2 studies, and so we kind of really disrupt things. I also just want to take a moment, because I haven't said this enough, just, what a competent, caring, committed group of people all of you are, and I really am proud to be your colleague, so I just want to let you know that. Let's see, I think it's time now to ask all of our student researchers to stand. So if you all would just stand up, I'm going to introduce you really. I'll do this kind of quickly. I hope I get all the names correct. So I'll just kind of go this direction. Olivia Palin, who has been working on our Math Talk study, which is a Spencer Foundation funded study. Leah Slawanowski, which you're going to stay standing because I want to say a few more things about you. Sarah Cody, who's also working on the math play study. Samantha Normington, who is working on I think, Timpani and Math Talk. Okay, yeah, so we kind of, we use our students in many different ways. Stephanie Dominguez, who is working on both studies, and then Amanda Terenzi, who is working on the Timpani study. So if you have, I'm sorry, Dominique, I didn't see you back there. I knew I was going to forget someone, that's why I had you stand up. Dominique McLean, who's also working primarily on Timpani, but maybe moving over in the spring to the other study. So anyway, if you have questions on the actual research, the specific methodology we use, and in particular the toys, some of these folks would be willing to kind of chat with you. I hope you'll kind of ask them. The other thing I would say is if you're interested in our math study, which is really also very exciting, others can share that with you. So thank you very much. great group this year. So let's see. I guess have I thanked everyone? Now hours later, I'm just, finally getting around to my brief comments. You probably would figure that after 8 years, I would have very few new things to say about toys and play, but my students will tell you I am never, ever without words. I always have something more I can say. And so I thought what I would do is share with you something I've kind of been working on in my mind, maybe writing a paper on this. And it's truly inspired by the findings of this year's study. By the way, what I'm showing you now is the very first TIMPANI Toy Study, way back when we began, called, Road Signs and Toy Vehicles, I believe. And this is an example of some of the really high-quality toys that we've identified. And as I've been looking at our findings and looking at the toys that we're studying, I kind of come to see that there's some very unique skills that children learn as they're playing with these high-quality toys. I'm going to do this real fast. We find that children ask lots of questions with really good toys, and probably more important, they seek answers to those. In other words, good toys really inspire curiosity. Children imagine and they plan. They do a lot of planning prior to actually carrying out their play, and that's an important intellectual ability. Measuring, drawing, model making. They create models with really good toys. Using objects or parts of objects to create designs, and then, of course, modifying those designs, including destroying them. I added that last part just because as I think about my own play when I was young, I used to create elaborate villages with Lincoln logs, and then because he was the monster of the era, I was Godzilla and would kick down all the structures. Brian Sutton Smith said that's the best part of building for children. Anyway, problem solving with space, definitely something you could see with this toy, how children might create a landscape on a limited tabletop or space on a rug. Really important, collaborating with peers, creating, constructing, negotiating. We did a really interesting study last year where we found one of the best predictors of children's math learning was collaboration in the block area. When they built with their peers, their mathematics grew sharply. And experimenting and testing hypotheses. And you see that a lot in children's play. But here's the punchline. This is what I'm really trying to get to. This is kind of like a surprise at the end of this whole discussion. What I just read to you, with some minor tweaks, is actually the graduate student learning outcomes for the Columbia University School of Engineering. School of Engineering. So what we're saying here is that these 3- and 4-year-olds over here are learning some of the same skills as some of the best graduate students in engineering in the country. And I should point out, they don't have to pay the $100,000 tuition to get this, to benefit from these skills. So here's what I've started to come up with. This is my kind of idea that really toys, some of them, serve as kind of engineering tools for very young children. And actually, as I've been kind of cooking this up in my mind, I've sort of been thinking about the work of Simon Nicholson, who has developed, he was an architect from the 70s who came up with what he called the loose parts theory. And I'm just going to show you a quote, which, and by the way, the engineering word is my emphasis, but I'm just trying to demonstrate that his idea was that if you play around with components and variables in the world, in other words, loose parts, small things, that you're able to discover new things and form new concepts. So I've been thinking about this and how, which kinds of characteristics of toys make them ideal loose parts toys for young engineers. And here's what I've come up with. First of all, collections of materials. So many of the toys that we've looked at have lots of different materials, and that they also can be manipulated, they can be combined, redesigned, lined up, all of the different things, taken apart, but put together. And so that seems to be a common characteristic of so many of our toys. In other words, loose parts. Materials that can be used in a lot of different ways, and I like to say it this way, they don't have instructions. So many of the toys today come with elaborate instructions that children copy or that guide them, but really if you think about some of the toys that we've tested, they can be used in infinite ways, and I think that's a really important characteristic of toys. Materials that lend themselves to collaboration. I've often said that any toy that has many different parts is likely to cause children to talk, to negotiate, to share, to do a lot of very important, kind of social behaviors. And then finally, just curiosity about physical properties. And here I really refer back to some of those engineering terms like stability, balance, structure, movement, force, which will serve children later as they start really thinking in more depth about those things. And I have to say that the Timpani toy this year really captures all of this. I think more than many of the other toys we've looked at, it does that. So this is the moment you have been waiting for. I told Julia what we should do is have a timpani here to beat. For one thing, that would explain to people who don't know what a timpani is, what it is, because we get, what is that timpani study that you do and so on? That's just a drum. We thought that was so clever, and it also spells out something. But so we're going to announce now the Timpani toy for 2016, which is the Plus Plus set. So, do you want? You have to. Okay. You want to play?
Yeah. There's 3 other people that I want to recognize before we close up, and so. One or two are the people who are responsible for making the video that you just saw. So Andrew Rubosh is in the back. He's a communications student. He was the editor. And he worked closely with our own Ken Miesemer. So congrats to both. And the other person I want to make sure we acknowledge is someone who had the less glamorous job of entering in all of the data into SPSS, and that is Emily Parsons in the back. A very critical role that had to be done. So I want to thank you all for coming today. Our students and Jeff and I will stick around so we can answer any questions that you have. So now is a great time to ask them questions about the research and what it's meant for them as a future teacher to be involved in this. And then if you are interested in getting photographs and video of children playing with the toy, they will very soon be transitioning from their playing in the great room right now because of the weather. So they'll be transitioning back to their classrooms in about 10 minutes or so, and you can go into their classrooms and we'll lead you over there to get that footage. So thank you again for coming.